In this video, I'll be talking about 9-9, which is more practice with adding and subtracting fractions. Let's start off with a simple problem. 7/8 minus 3/6. When we are adding or subtracting fractions, our first step is to find a common denominator. So, I know that a common multiple of 8 and 6 is 24. Could you have used a different one? Yes, but let's use 24 for right now. The next step is to rename each fraction with that common denominator. So, to get from 8 to 24, I multiply by 3, so that means I need to multiply the numerator 7 by 3 to get 21. Over here at this fraction, I multiply 6 by 4 to get 24, so I need to do 3 times 4, which is 12. So my new fractions, rewritten with that denominator of 24, are 21 and 12. The next step is to add or subtract. Obviously, we're subtracting because we have this sign here. 21 minus 12 is 9. And keep the denominator the same, 24. It says solve and simplify, so I need to go back and see if I can simplify 9/24. When I'm trying to see if I can simplify, I normally start by seeing if both of the numbers, the numerator and denominator, are divisible by 2. In this case, 9 is not, while 24 is divisible by 2, but they both have to be. So I'm going to try another number. I usually then try 3. 9 is divisible by 3, and so is 24, so I can simplify it that way. I'll write my simplified expression up top. 9 divided by 3 is 3. 24 divided by 3 is 8. The only common factor of 3 and 8 is 1, so this is in simplest form. What will get a little bit tricky today is that you will have some problems where you have to add and subtract fractions all within the same problem. So you might have something like this. 7/8 plus, in parentheses, 4/8 minus 2/4. Remember, we learned PEMDAS, which tells us that we do whatever's in parentheses first. So what I'm going to do is over on the left, I'll solve 4/8 minus 2/4, and then I will replace what's in the fractions with that answer. Then I'll add that to 7/8. So over here, I need to find a common denominator. 8 can be a common denominator, so I can leave this the same and change 2/4. 2/4, I would multiply by 2 over 2 to get something over 8. So I'm going to have 2 times 2, which is 4/8. So I have 4/8 minus 4/8, which is 0. So in this one, all I need to do is replace this with a 0. So now I'm just adding 7/8 plus 0, which is 7/8. Sometimes you'll get something other than 0, and then you would just repeat the process by adding whatever you had to your other fraction by finding a common denominator. Let's look at another problem like this with parentheses. Again, I need to do what comes in the parentheses first because of PEMDAS. So off to the side, I'm going to figure out 5/12 plus 1/6. That's a minus sign. 5/12 minus 1/6. A common denominator for 12 and 6 is 12, so I can leave 5/12 the same and change just 1/6. To get from 6 to 12, I multiply by 2, so I need to multiply my numerator 1 by 2 as well. 1 times 2 is 2. Now I can subtract. 5 minus 2 is 3, and I keep my denominator the same. I'm going to go ahead and leave this, even though it's not in simplest form. I'm going to add it with 2/3, and then you can just simplify it all at the end. It's up to you, though. I could simplify this to 1/4, and then add 1/4 to 2/3. It's up to you. So I'm going to go ahead and cross this out because I know that that is equivalent to 3/12. Now, off to the right in blue, I'm going to show you how I can now add 2/3 plus what this equals, which was 3/12. I can use 12 as my common denominator. So 3/12 stays the same. Over on the left, to get from 3 to 12, I multiply by 4. So 2 times 4 is 8. Now I add my numerators. 8 plus 3 is 11. And keep my denominator the same, 12. So 11/12 is my final answer. Let's look at a word problem. Miss Emery walks Murphy 7/8 of a mile today and 5/12 of a mile tomorrow. How much have they walked in all? We discussed the problem-solving strategy cubes. With cubes, we circle any important numbers and underline any phrases that tell us what operation we're going to be doing. In all tells me that I'm going to be adding. So I know that I'm going to add 7/8 plus 5/12. I need to follow my 4 steps. First step being to find a common denominator. In this case, the lowest common denominator is 24, but I could have picked anything else. To get from 8 to 24, I multiply by 3, so 7 times 3 is 21. To get from 12 to 24, I multiply by 2, so the numerator, 5 times 2, is 10. Now I just add my top numbers. 21 plus 10 is 31. And put it over my same denominator, 24. My final answer is 31/24 miles. This is the same as 1 and 7/24 if you did want to write it as a mixed number. We haven't learned mixed numbers yet, so that's okay if you leave it as 31/24. It is okay for your top number to be bigger than your bottom number. All that means is that I walked Murphy more than 1 whole mile. This is in simplest form, so I don't have to worry about that, because 31 is a prime number, meaning that its only factors are 1 and 31. Neither of those go into 24 except 1. When something's only common factor is 1, it is in simplest form. Try this problem on your own. Don't forget that because of PEMDAS, we do what's in the parentheses first. Solve what's in the parentheses first and add that answer to 2/3. Write it on your sheet and bring it with you tomorrow. Good luck. Go back and watch some other example problems if you need help with this problem.